All right, so I'm going to take you through some things that I do in Illustrator, and I've done since Illustrator 7, and they're amazing. You probably know most of them, but I figured that if we just go through it, then, you know, everyone will know. Feel free to ask any questions while we go. I'm happy to answer any of them. And usually I use shortcuts, right? So that I'll try to remember where they are in the menu, so that I'll show you where they are. So the little thing on the right here is just a bit of a list of all things I'm going to cover. So let's get started. So all of these are sort of just preferences and settings that will kind of like help you to be more precise. So help you to align things and move things really precisely. So the first one, which is really good, is keyboard increment. So when you've got like an object and you've got it, say you've got a square like that and you want to move it at a certain amount, if you just go up to preferences and you go change your keyboard amount, I'm just going to do something while I'm here. Change this to so we can change this amount to whatever we want, right? So now we'll go like 5 mil, which is really good if you need to move something at a specific amount. And obviously if you use the keyboard shortcut to go to your preferences, you can kind of go there really quickly. So if you go Command K, you go straight there, and you can kind of go as small as you want, really. So that's really, really useful. Any questions? No? Okay, next one. So smart guides. So usually when you start, smart guides might not be on. So smart guides are brilliant. I turned them on back in, I don't know, must be 2010. I haven't turned them off. So what smart guides do is they're smart and they kind of show you. This is before smartphones, wasn't it? Yeah. So it just shows you everything. So it shows you when you're on your anchor points and when you're on a line, and it just gives you those sort of like little helpful tips. So like if you kind of got an object, it sort of shows you all sorts of things and whether you're aligned. Brilliant. Otherwise you just never really know. Any questions? No, you probably all know that one anyway. Alright, so the next one, so if you want them on, obviously you turn them on or you turn them off, easy. Next one is the one that you saw just before, units of measurement. There's 2 places where you can do that. You can go to here and change your general, and that changes all your rulers and things like that. But also you might sometimes find that some people do it here as well, and they'll set it here. So like, you know, it might be in Pikers, and then you like, I can't understand what's going on anymore, and someone's actually set it to that. So it's always catches you out, that one. And so that's document specific. So if you save that, it just stays there. The next one is rulers. So obviously rulers are great. So if you go here, show your rulers pop up, and then you can kind of like drag out your guides, and you can drag out as many as you want, which is really good. And then next one is grids. So I use grids a lot. There's 2 things you probably need to know, is how to set the grid, but then also how to turn them on. So if you go to grid, guides and grid, you can actually specify how far apart you want them. So like an obvious one that would be really handy would be like a graph. And if you wanted like a 4 or 5 mil square, you might want to do something like that. And then if you go to show grid, you can kind of show your grid, which is really brilliant. And then the other good thing about that is you can actually snap to grid. So we can actually just create a shape So let's go with this. So I can kind of, I can copy that, and then it'll just snap perfectly to the grid every time. Like, obviously, if you don't want it to snap to the grid, you're gonna have to turn it off. Otherwise, it's just gonna keep snapping to everything. Likewise, the other way. So it helps you to get everything onto the grid and aligned. Any questions? No questions? So yeah, and obviously there's a shortcut to turn it on and off, and to so that obviously the shortcut's there. So you can turn it on and off, which is brilliant. And then obviously next one is using guides. So using turn on. So obviously your guides, you can turn them on or off over here. So hide guides, you can lock guides, or you can kind of even clear all the guides if you want. That's about it for guides. No questions? No. Easy. So obviously the next one is, we've already sort of touched on this one, is like snapping to a point, or sometimes this snap to pixel will be on, but obviously if we're doing things for print, snap to pixel is kind of really inconvenient and will make it very difficult for you. But snap to point's obviously a really good one. So obviously that just make sure that when you're next to something, it just snaps it on to the point, so it lines it up perfectly. The next one is the outline view. So obviously if we've got an illustration like this, we probably want to check to see whether it's all lined up. And I don't remember any area it is here. So that just turns on your outline. So if you've got multiple lines, you're 100% sure you're going to be lining it up. Otherwise, if you like that and you're looking at it, who knows, right? You're not going to know. So I use that a lot, just to make sure that I'm perfectly aligned. So that's that. And the next one that's really, really good is if you're doing something like a graph, or say if I wanted to say divide this height by 10 or something, and you don't want to go and change your grid, a really good way to do it is just to sort of make a box like this, and you can kind of split into a grid. So I'll just make it kind of like 10 rows, so that makes it into 10, and then I'll kind of group it, and then sort of move it to line up, and then so then I can kind of if I need to go 0.3, I can just easily kind of measure that out, and it's kind of obviously flexible enough I can move it around and change the scale. So that's it. Anyone with any questions?
I have one question.
Yeah.
With the rulers, when you bring down a guide, is there any way to put in, in InDesign, I know you can, specify which X and Y axes it sits on?
Yeah,
Can you
in
do
the
that?
properties.
So, can you just show how you would do it?
So what's the question?
Can you arrange a guide
Mm-hmm.
to a specific point?
Yep. So if you pull that out,
Yeah.
I think if you go to there's a properties here.
I'll just highlight the guide. As long as it's not locked.
Yeah, so you can kind of move it here.
Mm-hmm.
So X and Y.
That's just InDesign.
Yeah, you can also reset where the 0 starts too on here. But I don't really do it very often. Basically never. So I don't even know how you do it anymore.
You double click top left hand corner and it will reset the zero.
Yeah.
And if you drag it out, you can drag your zero to anywhere.
So I can just pull that. I don't know. I don't even know how
No,
to do it.
go to the 0 point top left and then
Yeah.
just drag across.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just drag down.
Oh, okay.
Or down as well. Yeah.
Yep.
And there's your zero.
Yeah.
But to reset it, double click top left corner.
Yeah. So I guess it's just pretty much the same as InDesign. You can kind of just specify wherever you want to put it, as long as they're not locked. So, anyone else? I'll stop recording.